Imagine this. For years, I tell you, I had one unshakable goal driving me forward: to buy a house. A place I could call mine, built from the ashes of dreams and sheer willpower. So when I finally did it, when I clutched those keys after signing my life away, I thought I'd conquered the world. But then, after a grueling business trip that felt like an eternity, I came home bone-tired but buzzing with excitement, only to have my heart stop dead in my chest. Karen, some brazen, unbelievable Karen, had taken over my house and was renting it out to yet another family. Can you even fathom that? I stood there, rooted to the spot, my jaw practically hitting the pavement had I stepped into some twisted alternate reality. For a split second, I couldn't trust my own eyes. What kind of madness was this? Hey, before we plunge headfirst into this outrageous tale, can you do me a quick favor? Drop a comment below and let us know what city you're watching from. Seriously. Where are you right now? It's a tiny thing, but holy cow, it supercharges our channel and spreads these wild stories to more folks like you. Oh, and while you're at it, slam that like button, give it some love. And hit subscribe so you're locked in for all the insane HOA showdowns, Karen chaos, and neighborhood dramas. We've got cooking. Let's rewind a bit, because this dream, it's been my everything. For years, I had one goal, one obsession that kept me going: to buy a house. My ex-wife and I used to dream it up together, whispering about it under the stars, picturing the perfect porch, the warm kitchen smells. But when our marriage fell apart, that dream didn't shatter. It landed square on my shoulders alone. I didn't come from money, heck. I barely came from anything. Owning a home? That was a fairy tale, a pie-in-the-sky wish for someone like me. But I wasn't about to let that stop me, no way. I was on fire with determination, busting my hump at a warehouse job, hauling crates until my back begged for mercy, picking up extra shifts just to hoard every dime I could scrape together. And when I finally saved enough, when I walked through that front door as its rightful owner, I thought, this is it. I've made it. Oh, how naive was I. Buying the house wasn't the finish line, it was just the starting gun. I'd have to keep grinding to keep it afloat, and the weight of being a homeowner solo no less crashed over me like a tidal wave. How was I supposed to do this all by myself? Then, like a gift from the heavens, an opportunity dropped into my lap. Picture this: an overseas contract, a 6-month stint in Dubai, overseeing a colossal logistics center's construction. Was it a walk in the park? Ha! Not even close. It was backbreaking, soul-draining work under a relentless sun. But the paycheck? Oh, that was the golden ticket, more than enough to polish off the house and stash a little safety net for myself. I said yes faster than you can blink, convincing myself it was just a short-term trade-off. 6 months away, a fat stack of cash, and I'd come back to a home that was mine. Truly mine, simple, right? Wrong. 6 months stretched into 7, then 8 long, aching months of toil. Every single day spent dreaming of my house, picturing it waiting patiently for me across the miles. Did I miss it? Like you wouldn't believe. Finally, after what felt like a lifetime, I came back, my spirit soaring, ready to plant my roots deep. 8 months of blood, sweat, and tears overseas, and I was home at last. Those brutal nights in Dubai, where the heat sucked the life right out of me, had paid off, or so I thought. I could practically feel it, tossing my bags down with a thud, flopping onto my trusty old leather couch with that sweet, familiar creak only I could cherish. But as I rolled onto my street, a cold shiver snaked down my spine. Something was off. Could I sense the chaos waiting for me? You bet I could. The yard hit me first, my yard transformed. It wasn't the tangled, overgrown mess I'd left behind, nope. This was straight out of a glossy home makeover spread. The grass was clipped to perfection. Colorful flower beds hugged the walkway, and a gleaming wind chime swayed from the porch, humming a tune in the breeze. What on earth? I pulled into the driveway, my heart thumping like a jackhammer, gawking at this stranger's paradise. My mailbox? repainted, shiny as new. The welcome mat, fresh and pristine. And then wait for it, kids' toys littered the front yard like confetti. Kids? I don't have kids. I don't even have a goldfish. My gut screamed at me. Something was seriously, terrifyingly wrong. Had I lost my house without even knowing it? I stumbled out of the car, legs wobbly as jelly, and edged toward the house like I was sneaking into a lion's den. As I hit the porch, children's laughter spilled out through the open window, bright, bubbly sounds that didn't belong in my quiet little world. My hand shook as I gripped the door handle, sliding the key in with a prayer, please. Let this still be mine. The lock clicked few, but when I shoved that door open, I swear my soul left my body. It was like stepping into someone else's life. The walls shimmered a soft cream, all fresh and fancy, and the living room, packed with new furniture not mine. My old couch, my faithful companion of years, was nowhere to be seen, replaced by some chic sectional with perfect little throw pillows. A massive TV loomed on the wall, and framed pictures of people I'd never met lined the shelves where my dog-eared books once sat. What had happened to my sanctuary? I stood there, a statue of shock, my brain scrambling to catch up. This was my house, wasn't it? Or had I walked into the twilight zone? Footsteps snapped me out of it, clip-clopping from the kitchen, and a woman appeared, mid-30s, apron tied tight, flour smeared on her hands, clutching a mixing bowl like she was Betty Crocker incarnate. Her eyes bugged out when she saw me. "Who are you?" she yelped, confusion thick in her voice. I balled my fist, anger flaring hot. "Who am I? Lady, I think I should be asking you that. What are you doing in my house?" Her forehead wrinkled. "Your house? We've been renting this place for months." "Renting?" My stomach did a sickening flip. What was she talking about? Renting from who? I barked, barely holding it together. She set the bowl down, wiping her hands on her apron like this was no big deal. "A woman named Karen," she said, "calm as you please. She's the landlord, signed a lease and everything." Karen? Who in the blazes was Karen? I didn't know any Karen, and I'd never ever rented out my house. My lungs seized. Could this really be happening to me? "Show me the lease," I demanded, my voice cutting like a knife. She flinched, clearly spooked by my intensity, but nodded and darted down the hall. When she handed me a folder, my hands quivered as I tore through it. There it was, a lease, legit as anything printed, signed, dated. Karen's name blazed across it as the property owner, her contact info taunting me. What kind of scam was this? "I don't understand," she murmured, her voice trembling now. "Is there a problem?" "You're darn right there's a problem," I snapped, thrusting the papers back at her. "You've been conned. Karen's not the owner, I am." Her face drained of color. "What?" "But she showed us documents, proof. We've been paying her rent every month." "Proof?" My blood hit a boiling point. I whipped out my phone and called the real estate agency that sold me the place. No trace of Karen, nada. She wasn't in their system. I flipped open the lease, zeroed in on her number, and dialed it without a second thought. 2 rings, then a chipper hello, grated my ears, too cheerful for this disaster. "Karen," I hissed, ice dripping from every syllable. "This is the owner of the house you've been illegally renting out." "Look, it's not what you think," she stammered. "The house was empty, and I thought, you thought you'd steal it?" I roared, cutting her off. "Thought the first wouldn't notice." "I was doing you a favor," she fired back. All sass and no shame. "It would have sat empty, rotting. I kept it nice." My jaw locked so tight it throbbed. How dare she? By pocketing cash off my property? "I'm calling the cops. Karen, get a lawyer, now." She hung up before I could unleash more, leaving me clutching the phone, fury blazing. I'd fought too hard for this house, sacrificed everything, and no way was some scheming. Karen going to rip it away from me. The air was so thick with tension you could slice it with a knife when, bam! A sharp, deliberate knock rattled my front door. Who could it be at a time like this? It wasn't some timid tap. No, it was bold, commanding, like whoever was out there knew exactly what they were up to and wasn't budging until I faced them. I yanked the door open, my pulse racing, and there she stood, Karen, late 30s, dressed to kill in a crisp outfit, clutching her phone like it was a loaded gun. Her eyes raked over me, not a flicker of fear. Oh no, but something sharper, something smug, almost dripping with disdain. "You must be the owner," she said, her voice so calm it sent chills down my spine. How dare she sound so cocky? "You're damn right I am," I fired back, my voice cracking with fury. "And you've got a hell of a lot to explain. Karen, what have you done to my life?" She crossed her arms, leaning against the doorframe like she owned the whole damn place. "Can you believe the nerve?" "Before you lose your cool," she started, all smooth and patronizing, "you should know this isn't as black and white as you think. The HOA guidelines? Crystal clear. Vacant properties can be leased out short-term if it's good for the neighborhood." I let out a bitter, jagged laugh. "Seriously? HOA guidelines don't give you a free pass to rent out a house you don't even own. This is illegal. Karen, straight up criminal." She just shrugged, casual as if we were chatting about the weather. "I didn't see you around for months. The house was just sitting here, rotting away, neglected. I figured I was doing everyone a favor, keeping the neighborhood looking sharp." "A favor?" My blood boiled. "Get off my property now," I snapped, cutting her off before she could spew more nonsense. She shot me a glare that could have melted steel, then spun on her heel and marched down the steps without another word. But don't think for a second I was fooled. Oh no, this was far from over. I slammed the door shut and slumped against it, letting out a shaky breath. Could this day get any worse? I wanted nothing more than to peel out of there, race to the police station, and slap a report on this madness. But then she appeared, the woman renting my house. She hovered in the living room doorway, her face twisted with unease, nervously twisting the hem of her shirt in her hands. "Look, I don't want any trouble," she whispered, her voice barely above a tremble. "Karen, she tricked us, okay? We had no idea. We've already paid her for this month, and with the kids, God, it's going to take forever to find somewhere else to go." My heart softened a little. I couldn't blame her, could I? She was stuck in her own nightmare, just like I was in mine, both of us tangled up in Karen's web. When she slipped back down the hallway, I snatched my keys. My mind said police station. "Here I come." I stormed outside, ready to fight this battle, but then, oh, you've got to be kidding me. I froze dead in my tracks. My car tires slashed, deep, ugly gashes tore through the rubber, mocking me. I crouched down, my jaw locking tight as I ran my fingers over the damage. All 4 tires, completely trashed. Karen had. She really stooped this low? I fumbled for my phone, hands shaking with rage, and called a tow truck, pacing the driveway like a caged animal while I waited. Anger churned hot in my chest, but underneath it, a steel-hard determination. Karen wasn't going to win this. No way. Once the tow truck hauled my car off for repairs, I ordered a rideshare to the police station, every mile pumping more fury into my veins. At the front desk, Officer Mendez greeted me, his stance snapping to attention as I poured out my story. Strangers are living in my house, renting it from some woman named Karen, who's pretending she owns it. She threatened me, and then I found my tire slashed. I slapped the deed and that forged lease onto the desk, my hands trembling with the weight of it all. Mendez nodded, flipping through the papers with a grim frown. "Classic rental scam," he said, his voice steady. "We'll dig into this. Track down Karen, don't worry. If it checks out, she's looking at fraud, trespassing, vandalism charges, bam." Relief flickered, but I needed more. "How long's this gonna take?" I pressed, desperation creeping in. "We'll move fast," he assured me. but file an emergency eviction just in case. And watch yourself, she's already shown she's got claws. Claws? That was an understatement. Later that evening, when I rolled back home, my nerves were shot what was waiting for me now. After her threats and that tire-slashing stunt, Karen had proven she was no lightweight, she was dangerous. But then I saw her, lounging on my front porch, leaning against the railing like she was queen of the castle. That smug, confident smirk twisted my stomach into knots. How could she be so brazen? I climbed out of the car, fists itching for a fight. But before I could unload, she raised a hand and flashed a smile. Get this, like, we were buddies grabbing coffee. Let's talk, she purred, cool as ice. I trudged up the steps, keeping my distance could. I trust her for a second. We've got nothing to talk about. You're done here. Am I? She teased, tilting her head like she held all the cards. You're making this way messier than it needs to be. We could both come out on top if you just stop fighting me. My eyes narrowed. What was she playing at? When? How? She straightened up, smoothing her blazer like she was about to pitch me a deal on Wall Street. You've seen what I've done here. It's not some cheap scam. It's a business. I've got tenants who trust me. Pay on time. Keep your house spotless better than you left it, huh? Think about it. I've upgraded the place. Upgraded? My temper flared. You're illegally renting out my property, I barked. That's not a business. It's fraud, plain and simple. She waved a hand, brushing me off like I was a pesky fly. Semantics! Point is, I've built something valuable here, and I'm offering you a piece of the pie. Why? Drag this through the courts and make enemies? Let's strike a deal. Split the rental cash, you kick back with your cut, no work, and I keep things humming along like always. Was she for real? I stared at her, disbelief slamming through me like a freight train. Was she actually serious? Her smile widened, but her eyes darkened, a sinister edge creeping in. And if I don't get this house, she said, slow and deliberate, then no one will think hard before you do something dumb? A threat? My skin crawled. How far would she go? That night, after another exhausting day wrestling with legal filings and police updates, the renter woman knocked on my door. She looked like a nervous wreck, eyes darting around like she expected trouble to leap out of the shadows. I've got to tell you something, she whispered, voice quaking. We're out of here tomorrow. My parents have a place we can crash. I can't let my family get tangled up in this mess with you and Karen. I'm sorry. It's just too dangerous now. My heart ached for her. Could I blame her for running? It's the smart move, I said gently. You and your kids don't need this chaos. She slipped away, and I breathed a sigh of relief. They'd be safe. At least, or so I hoped. But then, in the dead of night crash, I jolted awake, heart hammering as breaking glass shattered the silence. The sound ricocheted through the house, followed by muffled yells and the frantic thud of footsteps tearing through my yard. What was happening? I leapt out of bed, adrenaline surging, and raced to the window. My breath-caught masked figures were storming my property like an invading army. One hurled a brick through a downstairs window smash, glass exploding everywhere. Another kicked over my potted plants and lawn chairs, wrecking the porch I'd loved, while a third ripped down the string lights from the backyard fence, tearing apart every shred of peace I'd fought for. Was this Karen's doing? Had she unleashed this nightmare on me? Panic hit me like a freight train as I fumbled for my phone in the chaos. Where was it? My fingers shaking so bad I could barely hold on. I frantically dialed, desperation clawing at me. But before I could even hit that call button, bam! Someone kicked it right out of my hand. The phone smashed onto the floor with a gut-wrenching crack, skidding across the room like my last lifeline slipping away. I spun around, my breath catching in my throat. Oh God, what now? A masked figure towered over me, dark and menacing, and in that heartbeat, fear slammed into me like a tidal wave. Could this really be happening? Of course it was Karen. She had the keys. She must have let these monsters in. Before I could even think, the figure lunged, grabbing me and yanking me back with brutal force. I thrashed, kicking and twisting, but they were too strong, way too strong. A gloved hand clamped over my mouth, muffling my screams as I fought. And then, oh no, no cold metal pressed against my head. A gun. A freaking gun. I froze, my heart pounding so hard I thought it'd burst right out of my chest. Could they hear it? The figure leaned in, their breath hot against my ear, their voice a chilling whisper that sliced through the night. You should leave this house. Walk away and don't come back. Move or call anyone tonight and you're dead. Dead? That word stabbed through me, sending icy terror racing down my spine, locking my limbs in place. My breaths came in jagged, panicked gasps under their grip. The gun's weight against my skull, a horrifying reality. How long could this nightmare last? Every second dragged on like an eternity, my mind screaming. But then, just like that, they vanished. The figure shoved me forward, hard, and slipped out through the shattered window. I crumpled to my knees, shaking like a leaf, uncontrollable tremors rattling my bones. The faint roar of a getaway car's engine growled in the distance, fading down the street. But me? I couldn't move, couldn't even scream. Was I still alive? I clawed my way toward my phone, desperation driving me, but when I snatched it up, oh, come on! The screen was a spider web of cracks, totally useless. My trembling fingers hovered over it. What now? Called the police? No way they'd warned me, hadn't they? That gun against my head flashed in my mind, over and over, the whispered threat echoing like a death knell. I slumped against the wall, my back pressed hard against it, gasping for air as my body refused to budge, paralyzed by pure, suffocating fear. I knew I should call for help, knew it deep down, but what if they came back? What if next time that gun didn't just press against me? What if they pulled the trigger? For the first time in this whole wretched ordeal, I felt utterly helpless. Had Karen finally broken me? I sat there, trapped in that spot for what felt like hours, staring at the shattered window, the wreckage around me, and those ugly words spray-painted on the garage. Get out! My body still shook from the encounter, my mind a whirlwind, replaying that masked figure's hiss and the icy bite of the gun against my head. Would I ever shake that feeling? They thought they owned me, thought they'd scared me into submission, and for a fleeting moment, God help me, they were right. I was terrified beyond terrified. But here's the kicker. None of us knew the police were already on the move that night. Can you believe it? Salvation was closer than I could have dreamed. Officer Mendez, he'd been watching, waiting. A police cruiser sat silently a block away, no flashing lights, no blaring sirens, just stealthy, quiet vigilance. Had he really taken my earlier call that seriously? You bet he had. The second that first crash rang out from my property, he and his team swooped in, melting into the shadows, tracking those masked thugs as they tore my world apart. Did I even have a clue? Not until everything flipped upside down. I heard it, footsteps, heavy and deliberate, closing in fast. My heart leapt into my throat. Was it them again? But no. This time it was different. This time it was hope crashing through the fear. I dragged myself to the shattered living room window, peering out just as I saw them. Holy cow. Officers in tactical gear, moving like a well-oiled machine, silent and deadly as they crept through the yard. Were they really here for me? The attackers were still going nuts, oblivious that their reign of terror was about to end. One was smashing what little was left of my patio furniture, cackling like a lunatic. Seriously. Who does that? While another splattered more paint across the garage, defiling my home even further. The one who'd threatened me, he stood by the porch, scanning the yard like a hawk, probably making sure I wasn't dialing for help. Did he have any idea what was coming? Then boom, it hit like lightning. Police, don't move! The shout ripped through the night, sharp as a gunshot, and flashlights blazed on. Beams, cutting through the dark as officers charged forward. Finally, chaos exploded. Beautiful, glorious chaos. One masked thug bolted for the street, but wham, an officer tackled him flat before he could clear the driveway. Another raised a crowbar, all bravado, but before he could swing pow, an officer snatched his arm, slamming him down, the crowbar clanging uselessly to the pavement. I watched, jaw dropped, heart racing, as the police swarmed them, taking them down one by one. Could this really be happening? The air buzzed with shouts, scuffles, and the sweet click of handcuffs snapping shut music to my ears. The jerk who'd kicked my phone earlier made a wild dash for the backyard. Run. Coward, run. But an officer cut him off, dropping him with a textbook tackle. Yes. In minutes, my yard turned into a battlefield of fallen attackers, their masks ripped off as officers pinned them down. Take that. I recognized some faces from earlier vandalism, young, smug punks dripping with arrogance, but now they were wide-eyed, trembling wrecks. How's that feel, huh? Then, oh my God, my breath snagged as I spotted her. Karen. No mask, just raw panic twisting her face as she tried to sneak through the side yard, slinking toward the street like a rat. Did she really think she'd slip away? Not a chance. An officer zeroed in, sprinting after her, and grabbed her arm before she could vanish. Gotcha. Let me go, she shrieked, thrashing like a wild animal. You can't do this. I didn't do anything. Oh, please. Karen Adams, the officer said, cool as steel, slapping cuffs on her wrists. You're under arrest for property damage, trespassing, vandalism, and conspiracy to commit fraud. Her screams got louder as they dragged her to the cruiser, but her words, powerless now. Her game was up. Had she really thought she'd win? I let out a ragged breath I didn't know I'd been holding. Staggering to the front door. Could I finally relax? An officer approached, his face soft with concern yet firm with assurance. You're safe now, he said, steady and true. We've got them all! I nodded, still trembling, leaning hard against the doorframe. Safe? Really? I glanced around at the carnage, shattered windows, graffiti-stained walls, busted furniture, and knew the fight wasn't done. Cleanup, legal wars, repairs, they loomed ahead, daunting as ever. But tonight, I'd claim the first victory. Take that, Karen. She'd underestimated me, thought she could bully me into running scared, but look, who's in cuffs now? As the police car doors slammed shut, a spark lit inside me. No matter how ugly this got, it was the beginning of her end. Hallelujah. Thanks for sticking with me through this wild ride. Have you ever faced anything like this or just got thoughts to share? Drop them in the comments. I'm dying to hear. And hey, smash that like button. Hit subscribe. Don't miss more epic tales like this one.